Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, in today's video, we're going to talk about this young girl, Bernadette Walker. And I think this is a all the stories we talk about, of course, are sad because this is a true crime channel. If true crime is your thing, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to press notifications. So this is Bernadette. Bernadette was 17 years old, a photography student, and she was known to her friends and family as B or Bernie. So you can see that she liked to change the colour of her hair sometimes. She liked to experiment like young girls do. She was described as fun, bubbly, with dreams of going to America someday. So her passion was art, and I think, as I say, because of the way she liked to dabble with her hair colours and things, you can see she had an artistic side. Her brother said, this is her brother. Her brother said of her that once she felt comfortable with someone, she'd be open with them and she would show them her true side, which was caring, fun and bubbly. Now, as I say, B was studying photography at a local college over there in Peterborough in the UK. So we can see where it is on here. It's not exactly Midlands, is it? It's I'm not very good with geographical terms, but anyway, you can see where I've underlined where it is there. It's not that far from Birmingham, I suppose. Cambridgeshire, it's sort of, would you call that the east? Is it like the southwest or is it the southeast? I'm not very good, as I say, with geographical things. But anyway, you can see clearly where this is. This is in the UK. And she was last seen on the 18th of July 2020 when her stepfather, Scott, and here's a picture of her and Scott together. So this is her stepfather, Scott, and he picked her up in a car from his parents' home in Peterborough where she had spent the night, apparently. And according to Scott, as they were driving, they'd had a little bit of a disagreement. He'd stopped the car to roll a cigarette and she had run away. Did she though? Did she though? That's what we're going to chat about. So let's chat. So, her mum, Sarah, was worried about her, as you can imagine. But it was 3 days before Sarah rang the police. We'll have a look at a photo of Bernie and her mum, Sarah, together. So she was frantic, as you can imagine, or so it seemed. And here are a few things that Sarah said at the time. None of her friends have heard from her, and she's not access to her social media. I can't eat or sleep properly. I miss and love my eldest princess so much. She's missing out on her baby sister, who has learnt to smile and coo already. I have to think that she's hiding at one of her friends' homes, worried about coming home now, that the police will want to speak to her. I can't think of any alternative scenarios. I just can't. I know my baby girl wouldn't be out in the open. She's scared of being out in the dark alone. That's what makes me think she's at a friend's house. I just wish someone would say, she's here, she's safe. I want to cuddle her, but right now I'd accept that she's safe and well. You can't imagine how much we are both worried We miss you. We need to know that you are safe. We love you. And these were the sort of things that B's mum, Sarah, was saying at the time. So the two parents claim that they received a text from Sarah on July the 20th, at 1 a.m. saying that she would be coming home, but she did not arrive. Now, Sarah and the stepdad, Scott, they had been together a long time, and basically Scott was like B's dad. She called him dad. To all intents and purposes, he'd been in her life so long. Scott Walker was, to all intents and purposes, her dad. So you can imagine, it seemed like these two parents, her stepfather Scott and her biological mum Sarah, was so worried about where was Bernie or B or Bernadette. Where was she? Where had she disappeared to? Why did she run off? Finally, they did report her missing on the 21st of July, and the police went to their 5-bedroomed council house to take samples from her tooth and hairbrushes. And Scott shared a missing poster of Bernadette on Facebook on the 8th of September. So here's a couple of missing posters that were doing the rounds at the time for Bernadette. Everyone was concerned, where was she? Because although I think, most teenagers do have issues, don't they, with their parents from time to time, this was turning into a bigger thing than that. She'd been gone such a long time. None of her friends knew where she was. So it was getting more and more concerning, basically. And so the police now were involved, and they conducted exhaustive searches. Gunthorpe, Newborough, other parts of Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, but no trace of B was found. So the plot thickened when further enquiries that the police made discovered that instead of picking her up that morning, as he had said he had done, her stepfather, Scott, in fact had gone to a lock-up garage owned by his parents in Walton. So he, I presume it was from mobile data or things like that, that they checked, or maybe CCTV, maybe they'd seen him. I'm not sure. I'm not clear how they established that, but the police established that Scott, in fact, had been telling a few little porcupines. And he, in fact, visited this location, this lockup, several times after Bernadette was reported missing. Also, it was found that his phone was turned off between 11:23 a.m. and 12:54 p.m. That morning, that day. And that's the time that Scott said Bernadette had got out of his car and ran away on Skaters Way. But the police believe, and it is believed, that it was during these 91 minutes that his phone was turned off that, in fact, Scott murdered Bernadette. Why? Why would he do that? I'm sure you can imagine the answer. Anyway, Scott's first call after he turned his phone back on was at 12:54 p.m. And who was that to? That was to Sarah, Bernadette's mum, Bernadette's own mum. And this call lasted for more than 9 minutes. And the police believe that the only reason that Scott called Sarah was to tell her that he had killed Bernadette and that he needed help. I just want to put that picture in my head for a minute of, my partner ringing me up and saying that he'd killed my teenage daughter and asking for my help. And what you think you would do? What would you do? Anyway, so apparently to cover up Bernadette's death, he'd made up this, fabricated completely this story about her getting out of the car and running away. And in a police interview, Sarah, the mummy, the madre, claimed her daughter continued sending her messages after she disappeared. But it was found that the messages, any message sent after the 18th of July, was sent by Sarah herself. Her mother had been sending messages from Bernadette's phone to herself and to others, pretending they were from Bernadette. So clearly, Sarah knew that her daughter was deceased, and also that her partner had done this. And she sided with him. She covered up for him. It's unbelievable. Anyway, turned out even worse, because eventually Bernadette's rucksack was found in that lock-up garage in Walton. And inside that rucksack was a diary, was Bernie's diary. And on the 16th of July, so 2 days before she disappeared, Bernadette wrote, "I told my mum about my dad and the abuse. She called me a liar, and she threatened to kill me if I told the police. What kind of parent would not believe their daughter?" What kind of parent indeed? Well, I'll tell you what kind of parent. This kind of parent. This kind of parent. So her teenage daughter has just opened up to her about how her stepfather has been abusing her. And what does she do? She doesn't, comfort her, go to the police immediately. Oh, no. She covers up for him. She covers up for him. And plots to kill her own daughter because, believe me, well, you'll be disgusted when you find out the punishment that she got. But she knew 100% that horrible man had killed her own daughter. And she colluded with him to cover it up. In my opinion, her sentence should be just the same as his. Even though she wasn't the one that actually killed her, she participated in it, including. Anyway, finally, on the 14th of September 2020, they couldn't get away with it anymore, and both Scott and Sarah were arrested for murder and for perverting the course of justice. So this is Sarah's mugshot. Horrible woman. I mean, they're both horrible. And this is Scott's mugshot. They're, of course, both horrible. But, Sarah definitely comes, it is the double deviancy, isn't it? Well, if it's a triple deviancy with this one, because not only she's a woman, so that's unusual, although women do kill and they can do horrible things, but it's rarer for it to be a woman. But also she was Sarah's mum. So, you've got just the deviancy of plotting to kill somebody, and you've got the double deviancy of being their own mother, biological mother. It's like, and the double deviancy of being a woman and the triple deviancy of being the mother. So, you can't, to me, this woman, although he's horrible as well, I'm not giving him any leeway either. He's awful. I mean, to all intents and purposes, he was Bernadette's dad. But there's just something worse about this, isn't it? You just cannot believe that she could do that. how could she have him in her bed afterwards? How could she kiss him? How could she cook his dinner or, be nice to him? I just don't understand how she could have done it, knowing what he'd done. And even worse than that, Bernadette's body to this day has not been found. Nobody knows. So, you know how rare it is to try murders without a body, but this one was done, and nobody knows even to this day where Bernadette's body is, and we're going to talk about that shortly. So we're going to have a little look at the arrest. Let's have a look. Now, there's quite a lot of police there, obviously, but it must be an awful, I don't know if it's an awful or thrilling when they go and arrest these people. I mean, it must feel good in one way, isn't it? You're going to arrest someone that you know has done something bad, or it's alleged that they've done something bad, terrible, in fact, killing your own daughter. But there must be a sort of a part of it, like a sense of satisfaction there as well, that you are going to apprehend them, and you've got to do it in a professional way. Gosh, it's like the ordinary nurse. This is like unordinary things happening in ordinary places, don't you? You've got old coats hanging up there. It's just like a normal house, isn't it? But it's hiding so many secrets. Not that the murder is thought to have happened there, or even that Bernadette's body was ever taken there, because this lockup seems to have been the place. Well, the abuse took place there. The abuse of Bernadette will have taken place there. The argument between her and her mum. So, this is it. Sort of evil just lurks in plain sight, doesn't it? In ordinariness. It's hard to believe sometimes, isn't it? The home can be a very dangerous place for people, unfortunately.
Full force.
Just up there with us, all right?
Yeah.
So it's 5 minutes past 2 on arrest for suspicion of sexual assault with a child, uncontrolled and coercive behaviour. Okay.
Right.
That would say if they may harm to don't mention one question, something which later on in court, anything you do so making evidence go.
Right.
Now, I don't know about you, but if the police arrived at my house and said, "Oh, you've been arrested on suspicion of sexual assault of a child and coercive," you'd be like, "What? What? What do you mean?" He just goes, "Right. All right." You'd be what? You'd be incredulous, if nothing else, wouldn't you? If you were innocent, of course. You'd be like, "What?" No, you wouldn't just go, "Oh, right. All right. Okay.
If you arrest, it's a vulnerable person. All right.
Right.
We'll get a station. We'll explain to you. Silence. We'll explain to you what will happen from there.
Yeah. Just can I just see Sarah?
No, not at the moment.
No.
We'll
explain to her what's happened. So from now on, what you're in care. All right.
We'll explain to them once you get to
No, it's all kids.
I appreciate that. That's why I want to get you clearer as quickly as possible.
And it's it's distressing, Scott, but what you're going through is procedure we'll go through. All right.
Yeah. I mean, we know.
So they're asking to see Sarah. He's just stood there. He's just see how the policeman put his hand up on the door there. It's just like, "No, you're not going out this way." He's like a little, I don't know. He's a very strange guy, this guy. He liked to do a lot of TikTok videos and things like that. He's like a child in his head. He would do TikTok videos on top of his car dancing, or, he's just what did she see in it? You know, I mean, he's a POS, definitely, of course he is. But what does a woman see in a man like that, to the extent that she will even cover up the murder of her own child and deny in her head that he's ever abused that child? What sort of a woman does that? You know, I don't like blaming it all. I'm not blaming it all on the woman. I'm sure he's quite a scary person, but she had opportunities. You know, I think when you first found out, I would have just gone straight to the police, because the thing is, once he's arrested, he can't hurt you anyway. You'd want him arrested straight away, wouldn't you? Even if you were scared of him, you'd just want to, maybe she was scared that he might get bail and come after her. She's got other children. She's got a child with him. I don't know. You sort of try and put yourself in her position, but to me, I just don't understand it at all.
All about the accusations and stuff.
What you need to do is let my colleague give you a search, okay?
This is where we explore it properly, okay? We can tick off some boxes, etc.
Yeah.
Just remind you, Scott, you are under caution, so anything you do say, maybe
Yeah,
investigate.
sounds like that.
Get the handcuffs on him.
We'll let you have a smoke before you go in, alright? Yeah, we'll take that on.
So, yeah, that was the arrest. And good, you know, that he was arrested. And Sarah was also arrested, and these are their mugshots. Here's the lovely mummy, not Sarah, and the horrible stepfather, the wicked stepfather, Scott. So they still did not have Bernadette's body. They still to this day do not have Bernadette's body. And neither of them have ever spoken out as to where Bernadette is. So now Sarah was not charged with murder. She was only charged with, collusion, or what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but, she wasn't charged with murder, but Scott was. And his trial started in Cambridge Crown Court in June 2021. And in the trial, one of Bernadette's friends, Warren Naylor, revealed that Bernadette had told him that she had been sex abused by her stepfather over a 7-year period. So from when she was 10, would that be? It's a bit like the Madeleine Soto case, isn't it? He had received messages on the 19th of July from Bernadette's Instagram account saying that she had lied about these allegations, but Warren suspected that Sarah had sent a message. So Sarah had even sent messages to friends that, she'll have been through Bernadette's Instagram, no doubt, and seen messages, her phone, and seen messages that she'd sent to friends talking about this abuse. And Sarah then sent a message to Warren to say it was a lie. God. And during his trial, the jury heard that Bernadette had written in a diary, "I told my mum about my dad and the abuse. She called me a liar and threatened to kill me if I told the police. What kind of parent would not believe their daughter?" And the court heard that Scott most likely strangled Bernadette, then conspired with her mother to dispose of the remains and cover up her death. It feels to me that this was planned, though. I mean, if the mother had already said to Bernadette she would kill her, you know what it feels to me? 3 days later, Bernadette disappears. Seems to me that what happened then was Sarah got chatting with Scott, said she's got to go. It may have even been her idea in the first place, because she was so desperate to protect her life. She didn't care about her own daughter. And it must have been her who told Scott what Bernadette said to her, mustn't it? I mean, as far as we know, Bernadette didn't go to Scott and tell him. That poor girl, she was trapped in that home. She was being abused. Her mother didn't believe her. Her father was abusing her. Her mother threatened to kill her. But she was trapped there because she's only 17. She probably had nowhere else to go. Awful, isn't it? So the court heard that Scott most likely strangled Bernadette and then conspired with her mother to dispose of the remains and cover up her death. So did he take her to that lockup? Why did he visit there several times? Did he dismember this poor girl? Did he hide her all over different parts of Peterborough? I don't think we'll ever know. Because you'll find out the only people that knew were definitely Scott and possibly Sarah. Did Sarah know what he'd done with the remains? Anyway, following sentencing, Bernadette's brother, Anthony Walker, said that their father did not deserve to get out of prison. And then aged 21, Anthony, her brother, said that he had a history of attacking family members. He said that the family kept going to the police about his violent behaviour. So the police were aware of it, were made aware of his violent behaviour before this poor girl was murdered. And Cambridgeshire Constabulary said after sentencing that none of Walker's previous convictions of harassment and a non-molestation order relating to a previous partner had raised safeguarding concerns. Now, the police reported themselves, as they do, to the Independent Office of Police Conduct, and I'm going to read out later what was concluded from that. Anyway, on the 26th of July 2021, Scott was found guilty of murder, and he was sent on the 10th of September. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 32 years. So, in British terms, that's quite a good sentence, isn't it? But unbelievably, Sarah was only sentenced to 6 years for perverting the course of justice. 6 years for betraying her daughter in that foul way. Now, let's imagine, because this was 2021. We're now, nearly into the end of 2025. She could be out, could she? Do people normally only serve half their sentence? I don't know. Don't know if she's out or if she's still in prison, but even so, she's not going to be there for much longer, is she? I think she's only in her 30s, so, she's got a lot of life to come, unlike her daughter that she conspired to kill. It's unbelievable to me that this woman only got 6 years. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And the woman, this mother, she hasn't said where Bernadette's body is either. So Bernadette is just dumped somewhere, maybe even in dismembered somewhere. And this woman only got 6 years. Oh my God. I just literally cannot believe that she covered up for this vile man who murdered her own daughter and likely knows exactly what he did with the remains. I'm sure he told her. 100% he'll have told her. She sent messages pretending to be her. 6 years ago. Anyway, I could get into a real rant about it, but I'm not going to get into a rant about it. In 2021, detectives visited Mr. Walker in prison, but he refused to speak to them. So he didn't want to talk. That's what makes me think that maybe he did dismember her, do something really, really particularly nasty with her remains, rather than, maybe she just wasn't recoverable. I often think that when people refuse to say where somebody is, it's because what they've done with them is so horrible that they just don't want people to know that they've done that. And don't forget, he's got children as well, other children. So her remains have still not been found. She's lying out there somewhere. Bless her, bless her, bless her. Well, her soul, her spirit will be in the arms of the angels, I would hope. But it's just horrible to think of, of somebody just lying out like rubbish somewhere. Anyway, but one thing we do know is karma is a bitch, isn't it? Karma is a bitch. Thank you, God. Because Scott Walker, karma came for him very shortly after he was sentenced. He had only served 26 months of his 32-year life sentence on the 22nd of December 2023. He was 53 years old and he died at the prison that he was at, which is HM Prison, Full Sutton. This foul man, I mean, he's... Anyway, he died from complications related to bladder cancer that had metastasized, I knew I would have problems pronouncing that word, throughout his body. So, some justice there, isn't there? He did, I think, Bernadette, as far as Scott was concerned, did get justice. 32 years, I'd say, is a good sentence. He would have been sort of, 80 nearly before he would have had any chance of being released. Whereas, her mum, of course, she's going to get a life when she comes out. I hope karma gets her in the same way. 100% some sort of karma is due for her as well. So, yeah, he died. He died 53 years old. Only served 26 months of his sentence. I hope he was scared. I hope he was in pain. I know it's awful to hope those things, and I shouldn't, but I can't help it, because what he did to this young girl, his daughter, to all intents and purposes, is his daughter. So not only abused her for all those years, but then murdered her and then desecrated her body. He deserved everything he got. He deserved every single thing he got. There he is, playing the stepdad role. Disgusting man. So that's his justice, and he's gone into the hellhole. In fact, they've both gone into the hellhole. I'm going to show that later. And you know what? When he died in July this month, actually, the Prisons and Probation Ombudsman, which investigates deaths in prison, released its findings that the staff at Full Sutton had failed in their duty to complete the timely paperwork to allow a review as to whether the child abusing murderer might receive a compassionate release. Oh my God, thank God they didn't get that paperwork done in time. Why should he get compassionate release? What compassionate release did he offer Bernadette? Honest to God, I just don't understand that. It's just like, no, let him die in prison. That's what he deserved. He committed that crime, a horrible, heinous crime, one of probably the worst that you could do. Killing a child, because at the end of the day, she's only 17, though. I suppose that's an adult as far as UK is concerned. But his daughter, to all intents and purposes, and then hiding her body, and he was supposed to have a chance at a compassionate release. Really? Anyway, they didn't get the paperwork for it. So, let's get the violins out. Diddums. We all feel sorry for him, don't we? No, we don't. So I just want to read out to you some of the findings from the IOPC report, the Independent Office of Policing report, because, of course, they referred themselves because there had been, Bernadette's brother said, that they had reported this man to the police for his horrible behaviour, and the police had taken no action. So they do bear a responsibility here. These authorities that don't come through for victims, they do bear a responsibility. I don't know how they live with themselves, really, to be honest, because, anyway. Now, we don't know for certain that it could have saved Bernadette, but surely it would. Anyway, so these are the learning recommendations for the Cambridgeshire Constabulary following the death of Bernadette Walker. So her body has never been found, but today so this was on the day that Scott was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 32 years, and her mother Sarah 6 years. What a pathetic sentence for perverting the course of justice. But there's got to be a bigger penalty there, because she didn't only pervert the course of justice. I mean, perverting the course of justice to me is maybe somebody saying, oh no, he was with me all night, and somebody who genuinely didn't realize that he'd murdered someone. Because there are people out there, their husband or wife says to them, oh, can you say I was with you, because they'll think it was something to do with me, and it was nothing to do with me. And there are people that in genuinely not realizing, not accepting that their loved one could possibly have done that, will say, oh no, he was with me all night. Now that's different from sending messages to friends to pretend that she's still alive, blatantly covering up, it turning up in her diary that you actually threatened to kill her when she told you that your partner had been abusing her. Surely that's different. How did she only get 6 years? So we found no case to answer for misconduct for an officer for his role in the missing person investigation. They never find anything, do they? Do they ever find anything? Does anyone, when they do these reports, do they ever find any wrongdoing? However, our investigation, which began in October 2020 and concluded in June this year, identified potential learning for the force in the area of the supervision of missing persons investigations, improved training for frontline officers about missing person investigations, guidance for officers on how to handle sexual abuse allegations which come to light in the course of a missing persons investigation. I think a big problem with missing persons investigations, and I sort of understand it up to a point because, the police are dealing with these investigations all the time. I do think when a teenager goes missing, there's an assumption that they've just run off on their own volition. So I think sometimes assumptions are made, they lived in a council house. You'd be like, oh, well, she's, she dyes her hair green. She's probably run off and she's with friends or whatever. I do think there are a lot of assumptions about people's lifestyles, whereas really, in my opinion, every case should be treated as, instead of being treated as not suspicious until they find it is, treated as suspicious immediately until they find it isn't, because otherwise you miss out on all, that time when he was going backwards and forwards to the lockup. 3 days it was before they reported Bernadette missing, and that will have been when he'll have turned around to Sarah and said, right, I've disposed of the body now, bit by bit, nothing left. Let's report her missing. Whereas if right when Bernadette was reported missing, and especially bearing in mind they had the police reports of, I think maybe they could have, maybe found Bernadette at least. I mean, it wouldn't have saved her life, but. So he said, we've already taken steps to address some of the issues, but there is still work to do. We found that aspects of this missing person investigation could have been handled better, and there were opportunities missed to progress the investigation and to have earlier taken it in the direction of looking at Bernadette's mother and stepfather. However, there is no way this could have prevented her death. And that's basically what I've just said. It's like, couldn't have prevented her death, but they may have been able to find her body. Okay, so I think that's enough for me to read out that rather than reading the whole report. But so let's hope some lessons were learned. I don't know. So as far as Sarah is concerned, and she is, in my opinion, the worst offender in this case. She's worse than him. You know, she should have protected her daughter. And even if she couldn't control him killing her, she should have gone to the police immediately. What a vile woman. And she's likely to be a free woman now. Do you know, I hope the same karma comes for her that came for her husband. So this, don't forget, this is a mother who did not believe her daughter when she said she had been abused. In fact, she threatened to kill her. That was her response. She then sent herself and others messages from her abused and murdered daughter, and to perpetuate the lie that she had simply run away. So they're both going in the hellhole. Scott literally will be spinning in hell right now, I hope, and hopefully Sarah won't be so far behind. You know, if she wants to save her soul, she needs to come clean about what really happened. As for Bernadette and the family that did love her brother, etc., my heart goes out to them. Maybe one day Sarah will save her soul by telling the truth about where her daughter is and allow her to be laid to rest with dignity. Maybe she doesn't know where Bernadette is, or maybe Scott's many trips to the lockup were him disposing of the girl bit by bit, and she doesn't know exactly where she is. She won't want to admit if that was the case. But Bernadette, a young girl with a bright future, betrayed by her own mother and a man she had once regarded as her father. So, rest in peace, Bernadette. And as far as Sarah and Scott are concerned, into the hellhole. So, thank you for watching. It's a very sad story, but I think it's an important story that needs to be told. You know, unfortunately, mothers aren't always nice people, are they? But I hope she gets her karma. I'm pretty sure she will. There's a candle there for Bernadette. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about this girl. I'll see you really soon in the next video, as always. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye.